Alright, this is now the fun stuff. We're talking aero. The Firenock AeroSystem. Well, that word was used quite a bit since aero didn't come in. What's AeroSystem about? Well, AeroSystem is about basically all the components on the aero that do not require secondary tubing. That means imagine you got all the arrows. Now, because it's the Firenock knock and AeroSystem, answer is yes. Now let's talk about the first component that the AeroSystem has, bushings. This is a fun deal. This is my square peg in the round hole deal. Have you guys seen this? This is what we have a full twist capability on all the target arrows. This is about target systems. This is 23 and up. Anybody shoot target here? On ASA IBO stuff? Now let me show you how serious it is and see how good you are. What is the weight of a 23 size knock and bushing normally? G knock, S knock, or pin knock?
The bushing and
the knock. Give and take 25 to 33. Now,
give and take?
Yeah. If you buy the pin knock bushing, it's 21, and then you add the 5 ring on it, that's 26. You use the shrew bushing on it, that's 27. Add the S knot and add 11 to it, that's 30, 38, 39. Now, with the Firenock system, you notice we use a different knock. This is based on the A knock, which is a 204 size knock. Why 204? Why not G? Because that is the most optimum size for 23 and up. Now, this is where the fun part is. The Firenock A knock with the 23 size bushing combined is 12 rings. If you are into target, I can tell you I will give you extra 5 ring on your tail. Some people will kill you for that. Now let me show you a few so you at least got a chance to see what that is. I should have used the time to get it ready, but I didn't. That's a Firenock A knock. And that is a typical 23 arrows. That's the bushing. Now since you shoot targets and you know what the arrow is supposed to be. So what's the first step? You usually put it in a Walmart bag or something like that to put it in, right? I'll let you put it in and you tell me how perfect it feels.
Wow. That is smooth.
That is what's called a square peg in a round hole. How come a square peg can go in the round hole? This is where people forget one thing. What is a carbon arrow? The carbon is a carbon fiber tube. What does carbon fiber tube give you? It gives. So when you do this, you actually change the shape of the arrow to this. We're using the arrow to concentrate the bushing. And then if you look closer at the bushing, the Firenock arrow bushing also have what we call a second pattern, the umbrella system. If you look at the back of the bushing, that is actually a groove like this. See this is the back of the bushing? It actually behaves like this. What's that for? The moment the shaft got hit by somebody, this will protect it from splitting. That's the reason it's called the umbrella system. At the end of that bushing, on the very lip of it. Now, when you shoot a 2764, what's the normal size weight? Now you're talking high numbers. With us, the bushing plus the knock is 17 grain, complete.
For a 27.
Yeah. And by the way, you can hit it, you can take a hit. You can see most of my customers ASIBO at the back of that thing, it got nicked to the bejesus and survived. Of course, if you Robin Hood it, you Robin Hood it. I don't care what you got. It's like you got a brand new car, you just wrap it around a tree. Where's your car? Well, you just wrap it around a tree. There's nothing anybody can do. Is that good? Now, let's go to this part. Everybody is into 166. Well, let's give them 166. What's the big deal about this insert compared to a Black Eagle or Victory or Eastern HIT? Why is this so special? First of all, it's patent. Why is my outsert so big deal for 166? By the way, I sell a lot of it. Right now, there's 7 different companies standard with Firenock as offering. Australia, New Zealand, England, Germany, and Canada. I mean, like your killing stick in Canada, your high velocity arrow in Australia, your deer crossing, they all use this as standard. Some of the worst arrow, they need this even more because it protects it. But Beeman used this system way back then, but it never worked right because it lacked this. This is where the Firenock pattern is. Blood channels. What's the big deal about blood channels? What is blood channel? Now, if you ever cut a potato with a flat knife before, you notice when you cut the potato, the pole side will stick to the knife and you can't move it. You literally stick to your knife. And when you put this on it, you know what this is called? A blood channel. So just like you look at all the potato knife on the side, they got grooves on it. So you let air through, so now the potato will fall off. If you take a closer look at a Firenock outsert, okay, right here, which I'll physically give you guys a piece, just look at it. Since we got the actual piece, so we can talk a lot better. If you take a closer look at the groove, look at none of the groove are the same width, nor the same depth. That's where the part is. Take a closer look. All the grooves are different width and different depth. There are variations in it. Why do we need that? Now think about it. When the arrow passing through an animal, this whole surface is perfectly flat, right? And it shrinks to smaller. Imagine if that's meat, it will go, after the meat's open, if it's not cut right, the meat starts grabbing this. And it holds it. And now when you want to pull the arrow out, it's stuck to it. The moment you put blood channel, it's like, imagine this, you're trying to grab a knife, a fork knife. And the moment that you try to put pressure on it, guess what? You got cut. The pressure is relieved. You come right off. That's the reason even as an outsert, you can shoot it in the back target and retrieve it. Or the other one, the moment you shoot the animal with a field point, you have to physically put a knife next to the meat to take the broadhead out, or the field point out. That's the difference. Now, when you take a closer look at this picture right here, let's focus on this point right here, okay? You notice this is a field point? This is the outsert, and that's the shaft. With the Firenock outsert system, the field point, the shaft, and the outsert all come into this line right here, which makes this the strongest. Because the weakest point is actually become the strongest point. Now, when you use a full outsert, where is the end of that field point? It's in front of the shaft. Think about it. If you use a typical full outsert, when you put a field point in it, when the field point ends, in front of the shaft. So what is holding the entire thing together? This point right here. That's the weakest. Now you know why when you shoot it, it bends exactly there. You notice all the outsert when you shoot it, it bends right there. This is the main shaft, and it also bends like this. Because that is the weakest link. I don't care. You can make it out of titanium, it will bend. Because you only got a 166 tube.
So like on the gold tips, you've got the aluminum insert that you put in. That's what your field tip goes on to.
Correct. But then, of course, some people claim they put whatever collar on the outside. Have you ever installed that collar? How many times you can make it straight? Answer is none. You can try all day long.
So this has got your threads
inside.
Okay.
So your arrow shaft go from the back, and the field point go in the front. This is a very expensive process because I actually forged this. Because all the grooves are specially designed, I got a mold. I drop a piece of aluminum, ka-chunk, you got this piece. okay, with a hole in the middle, in the front. Now I machine the thread, grab the piece, turn it around. Now drill this hole I need, and then machine the outside to match it, and then laser mark it. You say, well, why do you need a laser mark it? You know how many sizes I got? Try to drop a box of this on the floor. Remember, 0.622 to 6602 to 606. If you want to divide the two with a caliper, good luck. You're not going to find it. Remember, I got 15 sizes. If I give you that box and put it on the floor, I give you a caliper, you're going to hate me. Actually, I hate myself the first time we do not have numbers. Yes, you have to have numbers. And people say, well, colors. Look how many else I got. How many colors you think is out there? Forget it. It ain't going to fly.
So what did the numbers symbolize then? So like
The outside of the shaft in millimeters. The gold tip is like 5, and if you look at my catalog, which you guys should have already, I have every single arrow in the market. Of course, the latest one is actually on the website. If you look at the arrow outsert system, which is on page 7. That's the old list. Now the list is actually all the way to the bottom. This is the most reliable system that ever had. Anybody will use anybody. Just put it this way, even the big boys all use mine. Like Alan Boson, he used mine. He is only second to Chuck Adams in taking animals. And so is like Chase Future. They all use this if they want 166. Because they have not found a more penetrating, harder. This system had proved itself on imagine you're shooting an 82nd airborne at 80 pounds at 30 degrees into a concrete. It will stay with no damage. That's enough done in Australia. They're all from Australia. Those guys all shoot Boltex 80 pounds, which I'm not sure why. They shoot so-called Widowmaker, that kind of arrows, and high velocity arrows. I mean, they got big plane and they got big animals like kangaroos and Asiatic buffalo. Is all you can shoot. So that should give you a hint how strong the system is. By the way, this is 7075 T6. Normal is T5, but because of forging process, make it a T6. This thing is actually 82% strength of stainless with only 30 to 32 grain. How come 30 to 32 grain? And the hole is bigger, it's lighter. When the hole is smaller, heavier. There's 568 all the way to 6.8 millimeter. This will fit something like the VAP 450. This will fit something like the SoCore 300. Okay, that is the chart that you have in front of you. That's the latest one. The one you have is a little bit old. Okay, now, how come I leave like this? Now you notice there's a lot of arrow points, arrow fact technology, and ACT. Now, if you want to, you can see it on your catalog, which is on your page 8. That's all your points. Of course, I'm going to double that for 2019. And tell you what size it fits and what you use for. Now, why is the ACT, Aero Chamfering Tool, that is so critical. That is what AeroSystem is based on. Now, I have even inserts for the 23 size. In other words, your Gold Team 93, your Eastern Super Dry 23, I got insert for those. And by the way, my insert is different from others because it cannot mushroom. Yes, you heard me right. It cannot mushroom. How is it possible? Let me show you. This is what a typical insert is, right? The moment when this insert hit the target and it got super hard to it, what happened to the arrow shaft? The arrow shaft, they say, the arrow shaft mushroomed and insert got pushed into it. Why is the insert got pushed into it? Because the arrow shaft go into an oscillation, circular oscillation. Because when you hit it, the arrow shaft do this part, the arrow shaft also do this. Now, how to do, the moment the arrow shaft do bigger than this, what happened? The entire thing move inside. Now, let's imagine this. What happened if I do this to the insert? in what the ACT does. The moment you do this part, how is the aero shaft going to do this? You encapsulate it. The aero can no longer mushroom at all. Now let's go one step further. Let's talk about HIT insert or normal insert. On a 246 size aero, what's the ID of the insert section, like this part? It has to be smaller than 246. More like 245, 244, right? So when you put the insert with the glue into this shaft, how do you guarantee it do not do this? You can't. I don't care what you do. It doesn't matter. It won't happen. And to make it even more funny is that you finish the shaft, you lay it on the table. The entire insert settles. What does that mean? Is this still concentric? I mean, you all put enough aero together. Let's just be blunt.
Probably not.
Okay, now let's go one step further. You do an HIT insert, all right? Aero shaft ID 204, insert ID 202. You put glue, you push the thing in, and you cannot stand the aero shaft straight up. You lay that thing flat on the table. Where is the insert? What happened to concentricity? You just throw it out the window, isn't it? Let's just be very blunt and very frank. What did I say is not true? So why are we doing it? Unless you're willing to give up 2,000. Well, 2,000 is not important. So what are you building? Now with this system, now the beauty of this system is that if you use my glue, like AGUSSE, Aerovane glue super slow set epoxy, you have a longevity of 40% flex in it. The moment you can glue the insert up to 10,000 run out. Within 3 shots, it will be 0.2000. Because when you're able to do a shaft in this, how off can it get?
It'll center itself.
Yes. Self-centered, self-concentric. That's the reason the insert is so damn good.
You build crossbow bolt inserts that way.
All of them are standard. All Firenock have this on it. Every one of my inserts, even the cheapest one. That's the reason you notice all the Firenock, even on Black Eagle, execution of brass, they don't fail. They don't split, they don't mushroom. They can't. Even without a tubing in it. Because they're all like this.
They use the same technology?
Across, no, mine.
Okay. So you're talking your insert in a Black Eagle execution.
Correct, because when I got only plain shaft.
Okay.
Now since we're talking inserts, let's go and talk about numbers. So you learn what the Firenock system is about. Yeah, the Firenock's numbering and system is a 6-digit number. Okay? The 6-digit number is where you're able to learn the entire Firenock system very easily. The first character is useless, is A, which means aero insert. Okay? The second digit, I, is the extension of the word insert. The third character is where the technology is. The fourth and fifth character usually is the diameter, and the final character is the material. So let me show you. I will show you what that means. AIH 30B. AID 24T. Okay. Aero insert hybrid. That means you got 2 technology in it. In the 300 size, the word B means brass. B means brass, T means titanium, S means stainless steel. C means cheap aluminum. And finally, we have BTS and A means expensive aluminum. Those are my 5 numbers. And the good thing about Firenock system is that they are all the same price no matter what size you buy. So B and C are both our budget item. They're $14.95 retail. The titanium is $69.95 for a dozen. The stainless is $39.95 and aluminum is $19.95. That's it. There's no more complicated whatever, it's all there. That's it. You really don't have anything to worry about. Those are the numbers. The word 30, 24, 22, or 20, or 31, or 32, Those are the thousandths of an inch of the shaft.
OD or ID?
ID, because insert is inside.
Okay.
So the word A means that angled, just like you see the A1A right here. The moment you see the word D means double, it means a dual quarter. Those are phased out. No longer as of 2018, the D is gone. The only thing left is H. The H is where the aero concept system is about. I'll state that a little bit later to show you. Now, as we are here, the ACT, Aero Chamfering Tool. At first, I didn't want to build this, but my customer convinced me this is important because they don't want to shoot so many arrows to settle the inserts. Because see, if you don't, imagine you got a square flat arrow, you now put it on a chamfered insert, you have to shoot enough to the arrow crumble and eventually sit itself. Now, how can we accelerate this process instead of using so much time? I give you an aero chamfering tool, which you can see on page 8. As a dealer, I would recommend you get a 100. As a normal guy, use 180. Learn with the 180 first. What it does is I put on a drill and shove the arrow down and turn it. You say, wait a minute, how can it be accurate? I say, wait a minute. You're holding a 31-inch shaft. How many degrees can you be off? Look at this. If you put the drill right here and you're 1 degree off, this is 1 degree. You will know it. So just push it in and then you're done. It's that simple. After you chamfer the shaft, you got 45 degrees around the shaft, it'll fit into the inserts. Now you're guaranteed 2 things. It's concentric. If it's not, go shoot it. It will be. And the second part is that you also guarantee the entire arrow would never ever mushroom. You couldn't. The arrow will break first before you mushroom. That's the reason this is such a good technology. And finally, about arrow points. Now, if you look at arrow points, you notice that we make every single size point out there. That's quite a bit. You notice the points have a little bit different on the O-ring. The one that is close to it, like the 125 ring 8mm, that's the old style. That's Aero Point 1.0 specification. While the 175 is Aero Point 2.0 specification. The difference between the two is that the 2.0 is about 150% stronger. Because the weakest point is where the O-ring is. When you machine the groove on the O-ring right in the neck, sometimes you can split it. But even with this material, by the way, all the Firenock field points is either made of GR5 titanium or 154 cm stainless. So they are about 45 to 50 HRC. That means they are about as hard as, they are more hard than your dies. They are technically, you can, if you've got sharp point, you can score them on glass and cut it. That's how strong those field points are. Yes, they are not cheap. They are about $20 for 6. But they are guaranteed to last you beyond a lifetime. If you hit a rebar will be dented with nothing to do with the field point.
Glue ins too, or just screw ins?
This is screwing. We haven't gone into gluing yet.
Okay.
We got a whole new section right there. Now you know this that is what arrow point is. The 2 O-ring. Why is the 2 O-ring so critical? Think about it. You saw one O-ring all the time. In every single body, they put an O-ring in the very front. I'm the only guy with 2 O-rings.
Concentricity?
Yes. And also, self-fit. The moment you put 2 O-rings, the moment you shoot it, the 2 ends will fight each other and tighten the knot, tighten the field point as you shoot it. After you shoot about 5 rounds, you need a plier to remove the field point. You'll never get loose, ever. The moment you put it on that moment, it's self-centric and self-tightened. So always put a saliva or a little bit of vegetable oil when you put it in. Otherwise, you ruin the O-ring. Because see, when you put 2 pipes with 2 O-rings, you're guaranteed to concentric. And the 2 ends will move independent of each other, but work together. They will, when you force it, they will independently move. Now you have to push 2 O-rings together out of the shaft. Not possible. Now this is what the arrow insert A. See that right there? That is how we use the chamfering tool, and that's how the field point works. Now just so you know, 2 weeks ago, I got my 30th US patent in archery. The arrow insert system have the most of my patents. because most people never know as your arrow speed increases. It's like you build the best guns now, but you get no bullets. Just like you can build yourself a perfect Weatherby custom build and you decide to shoot some Remington bullets with it. Ain't gonna fly well. That pretty much is the bottom line. That's the reason we come to this. Now of course, broadheads. Well, this is the year of my Firenock broadheads. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have actually 9 broadheads this year. By next week, we have 10. The number one, of course, is Tomahawk. That is the Firenock Aerobow G component products. And it is a blunt force trauma broadhead. That means this broadhead cannot cut you. You grab it like this, it cannot cut you. It's supposed to be not sharp on a broadhead. Is that fun? What it does is that you notice that it's not a point, but a line. So the moment when you use the Aerobow G that have unlimited power, especially with the scorpion, the moment it hits, it grabs the meat with the 2 point. Have you ever looked at the close point of a drill bit? It is not a point, but 2 points or a line. The moment it grabs it, it starts doing this. So the moment it grabs the meat, it starts doing this. It tears the meat off. Let me just give you some numbers so you know what's going on. If you got a perfect broadhead, I mean one of the best cutting broadhead bar none, is the Ramcat. A Ramcat will go through a white-tailed deer with 25 pounds of kinetic energy. We're talking 180 pound whitetail. Go right through it. Okay, today you got just what else the biggest, baddest scorpion Oculus. Now you got 188 pound of KE. You shoot a whitetail. When the arrow passed through the deer, how many kinetic energy you got? Negative 185. You just have you still have 160 pounds of kinetic energy on the arrow. So how many more ground do you want to kill? Now with this system, literally, this will expand about 100 to 150 pounds of kinetic energy when they go through a deer.
So you're saying with, say, the Ramcat, you're wasting.
The total waste.
There's tons of kinetic energy not even being used.
Absolutely. That's the reason there was one guy just to show Jim our scorpion. He shot 3 pigs through with one Ramcat and still stuck to the tree.
3 pigs.
Yeah, 3 pigs simultaneously.
How did you get him to line up?
Yeah, he taking a long while. He said he taking a long while for the pigs to line up and then shoot it. So now imagine if you shoot a deer, what do you really want to do? How far the ground you want to dig to get your arrow back? But see, with a system like this, the beauty of it, if you shoot the deer, you shoot at the shoulder blade of the deer, you split the shoulder blade and drop the deer.
Will arrow recovery be more likely with us?
It's so simple. I mean, Brad Krakowski, who is in Tuna, Wicked Tuna, he's one of the captains there. He used this exclusively. And one of my good customer who's in New Jersey, he used to buy 5 to 8 packs of Ramcat for me. The moment I sold him one of this, 3 years now, he haven't bought another one. Because he, just like Brad, they don't even buy quiver anymore. They put this in your pocket, one arrow, go and shoot one, and that's the end of it. And put it back. First of all, you never sharpen it. Just like how often you sharpen your butter knife or your fork. Because technically it's a fork. Go in and he turns it and grab the meat and tear it off. So this is what I can only use on any crossbow that with 130 pounds or more kinetic energy. So right now in the market, Tech 15, your Raven R9 or better, your Fang from PSE, the Tech 15, not even your Barnett, none of the Barnett worked. Don't have enough KE on it.
You say 130 minimum?
KE. Barnett only give you 115. All the Excalibur maximum is 117 max. They don't have enough KE in it. They only got speed, they have no kinetic energy.
So what happens if you shoot at vitals with that?
No, you can. I mean, then
You
you
don't have to go for a shoulder.
No, the reason I designed this is a lot of customers challenge me on an inner city hunt. Imagine this. You're now in Madison or in, say, Prince William County, suburban whitetail. you got to take it to hunt the backyard of a guy's house. Do you know how wide is a city lot? It's about 35 feet. That's 10 yards. In the Chicago city lot, it's about 25 feet. Okay? The animal walk into your yard, you shoot it. You have to drop for the next 20 feet, or it's not yours. That's the intention. To drop it. You take the front leg or the neck right off. As a matter of fact, one picture I'll show you. One customer used this to shoot a dome. You take this part of the entire dome out. There's no more here. The dome moved 6 inches from where he shot. Now, of course, do I have customers unsuccessful with this? Yes, I got a customer who shoot just up under the spine behind the shoulder blade. The deer lived. To be frank with you, I don't know anything he shot with will kill it. What do you think? What do you think you can kill the deer if it's just behind the shoulder blade under the spine? That's no man's land. Yep. Nothing will kill it. Yes, it proved it. Not even this will kill it. Okay, then the next one. Yep, this is the new one for 2018. This is the Dagger and Dagger Titanium. This is my #1 seller broadhead. What's so special about this broadhead? First of all, the titanium one is 85 grain. The stainless one is 125. Within 2 weeks, I got one at 100. What's the big deal about this broadhead? Every broadhead I just told you will fly with AeroWing 3. That means if you fly at 315 feet per second vertical or crossbow, this broadhead at 30 yards and out is going to spin about 200 revolutions every 20 yards. Not 6 or 8. 200 minimum. With a scorpion, you're looking at 300. Now, the moment this touches the animal, see this blade right here, the round curve right here? It will instantly change, you'll blend the air into the lung cavity. Within 10 seconds, the lung will no longer be fluid, it will be foamed. The animal literally will drop in front of you in panic. We're talking the moment you recognize it can no longer breathe, it stops breathing. It can't put air in, it can't breathe air out. The foam will be about this thick off the animal. The next round, I will show you pictures. So that when you shoot an animal through the lung, as long as you do a double lung, the animal, the moment about maximum, I would say about 20 yards, the thing will drop in front of you. Like it will walk like this and then do a shake and then fall off. It will not do a dead wobble. It's a full shake and then fall off. Pretty fun, huh? I'll show you pictures of the kill. And finally, of course, this is the Firenock swing blade. We got the pattern. When I found this pattern in September, within 2 months it's issued. It was that unique. This is the first ever broadhead that's a component based, fully replaceable, and 100% aerodynamic correct. How come I have 2 blades? This blade is better cut, 17 degree. This blade is compliant with the New York requirement of no bobbing, so the back cut is actually 89 degree. So you can change the blades, change the screw, change the body. Now right now we only have 2 blades. My original process, there's going to be 8 blades. So you have all different kind of cut, all different shapes. And then there will be multiple heads, multiple bodies. So you can make it 75, 100, 125, change the head at 25 to it, become 95, 145, 165, and then change the blade shape. You have how much cut, from 2-inch cut all the way down to 3/4 inch cut. You name it, go for it. That's where this is going. Now, the standard version of it, what's so special about it? You got an arrow point technology right there. The most important part is that this is tested up to 550 feet per second on wind tunnels. Okay? That means that the morning you hunt for a normal guy who say, so today is October 1st, October 30th. The guy pulled his bow out, shot 3 arrows at 20 yards. Yeah, I also got a 4-inch group. I'm good enough. Now, we all know how it goes. We all want to be ethical, train the whole year, but the moment when you're 30s or 35 or 25 more like, you got 2 kids, baseball, work, overtime, ain't happening. So, what can I possibly do to help those guys? I would say if you use arrow point for your, or any field point for yours, as long as you shoot reasonably well, you can put my broadhead on, I'll guarantee the arrow to fly the same. Which is a pretty bold statement. And not to mention have an ethical kill. People say, oh, that's not enough blood trail. I say, if you really want blood trail, use a gun. Arrows will never give you enough good blood trail, even on the biggest blade. Because on the biggest blade, you're giving up something worse than blood trail, penetration. There's too many people with the scissor type design. The moment the arrow hit at an angle, the arrow literally goes sideways and the arrow falls to the ground. Or simply go in 2 or 3 inches and no longer penetrate. Yeah, you're looking for a blood trail, but what happened if the ammo never died? You get a blood trail for the next 3 miles. But the ammo never died. So what's the point? So my thinking process is that I will give you an arrow you can trust, even a super sharp. Like you are like 35 degree already shot. This will go in without kick. And the blades will only open if it encounters different density. And the blades open this way instead of this way. Because when you open this way, you got kick. But when you open this way, there's no kick. That's the reason swing blade is called swing blade. You're going to have customers who want bigger cut. Well, let them have it. They don't understand. But when they start losing deer and come in and say, this is not good, say, try this. I don't have time for this. Yes, try this. We got enough of those customers. You know who they are.
Is there any stipulations on KE, speed?
That
this
technically
one?
no loss compared to field point.
Compound, crossbow?
Anything.
Okay.
In other words, this cutting process. You see, when I designed the Ramcat SPG for Ramcat, that's the angle blade I use.
You design Ramcat?
SPG and also the double O-ring, they're all mine. You can look at the back of Ramcat. They all got my name on it. The design of the SPG, single baffle front and back,
Yep.
that's mine. And same as the Hardcraft Trophy one, or the new Wharf from Plainose Energy, they're all my patents. I license to them. Okay, now we have a prep arrow prep system. Now you don't notice, you guys prep arrows. And of course, I will just run this through, you know what they are. People say, why do you know? I sold the most amount of arrow prep system for this reason and this reason only. That is for the outsert. That is one of the #1 reason people bought mine. Not because of this, not because of this, not because of this. It's because of this. Because see, when you put an outsert on a shaft, how do you guarantee the outsert glue? See, imagine this is an outsert, this is a shaft. How do you guarantee the outsert is not doing this? Or this? This is how you guarantee it. By holding on the outsert tight, and you turn the arrow. You hydro flow the fluid.
Put the glue on, then put it on, then...
And then you hold the outsert and you push the arrow. You force the glue to flow around it. When you finish it, stand the arrow straight into an arrow box. You're guaranteed to be perfect every time. Now you know why I sell so many. Because I don't have the product. I have the process and the procedure. If you buy the outsert from me, I actually send you a YouTube video. How to use this right. Of course, if you don't have outsert, you can hold the table and like this and push it. But that is never going to be right. Because the outsert hand is moving. This will guarantee to be right. And then a lot of time people say, George, you know, I'm using your dagger. It looks like wobbling. Because it's an unparalleled design from left and right. But front and back is the same. So the front left is the same as the back left. So when you look at it, you say the whole thing is wobbling. But when you point it like this, using a paper to see what's going on, it's perfect. Because when you spin it, the point didn't move. So that will guarantee you to do what you need to do. And a lot of people do general spin checker. In other words, yeah, but remember, those ball bearing is not meant to spin. It's meant to apply pressure. That's what a lot of people who buy my ABS say, don't spin up at all. Of course it won't. Pure physics, pure geometry, which I'm going to explain from this point. You notice the first Firenock APS have tiny ball bearing. Then we'll move to big ball bearing. And finally, for the guy who wants to spin, have this. What's the big deal? Pure geometry. What's the circumference of this? That means if you put an arrow the same as this size, one turn of that shaft is one turn of the ball bearing. Am I right? If the shaft is half the size of this, one turn of ball bearing, the shaft twice. When you look at it, when this thing turns once, the shaft turns 7 times already. It's that simple. Ball bearing is ball bearing, but when you spin it, the less this moves, the smoother it gets, the more you got. And I also do one thing, I also give you an O-ring on this. Why? Because when you start pushing all this thing on metal and you keep doing this, if it's not clean, not perfect, you just scratch your shaft. What happens when you scratch carbon shaft? You just score it. Make sense? And this is called the super spinner. This is a separate product, you haven't got any yet. This came out last year. That concluded the aero concept. No, the AeroSystems. Any questions? All right. Well, I think we should go and eat and then do a break. Otherwise, we